So we've talked about the owls, we've talked about the hawks, we've talked about the falcons. Now we're going to move on, we're going to talk about the kites, another category of raptors, one that many of you may have never even heard of until right now. Today we're going to learn more about the Mississippi Kite. So this is our Mississippi Kite. Her name is Pippi. So Mississippi, Pippi. Mississippi kites are common here in Alabama in the summertime. They are a migratory species, and so in the wintertime they'll migrate down further south where there's a lot more insects for them to catch and eat. Kites is just a category of raptors that some of you may have never even heard of. So we've talked about the owls, we've talked about the hawks, we've talked about the falcons. Now we're moving on to the kites, which are mostly insect eaters. So these birds, they'll be flying over open fields, catching insects in midair, popping them in their mouths, and then keep on flying. So they don't even land when they eat. And they're going to be catching things like the grasshoppers, crickets, dragonflies, things like that. But they'll catch a wide variety of prey items, whether it's mice or frogs or even snakes sometimes. And so they are opportunistic like most raptors, but they really specialize in a lot of those insects. You can see these birds a lot of times flying over the open fields, especially when farmers are mowing the fields. When those farmers start mowing, all those insects are jumping out of the way so they don't get chopped into 1,000 pieces, but instead they get grabbed by those 8 talons on these kites. So it's a lose-lose situation for the insects, but it makes it a lot easier for these kites to be able to catch their food when it's jumping around up in the sky. And so you can see these birds quite frequently soaring around. They've got really big, wide wings. They're not really big at all. This bird only weighs in about 350 grams. And so she's not really long. She's got kind of a short, stubby tail. And so they've got really big, broad, wide wings that allow them to soar around effortlessly when they're up in the sky. Now these birds grow up really fast. They're full grown within about 30 days. And so it takes the parents about 30 days to incubate the eggs, and then after another 30 days, those kites are full grown. And so they grow up really fast. So that means those parents have to provide a lot of food for those kids over the first 30 days so that they can grow up that fast. Now these birds make a really distinct call. You can listen for it and hear them quite frequently when they're soaring around the sky. This bird does talk. Pippi talks a good bit, but she's probably not going to talk for us. So we'll add it in the video so you can kind of hear what they sound like. That way next time you're outside, maybe you see a bird soaring over your head, you want to know what it is, it might be making that noise. Again, it's only going to be in the summertime. In the wintertime, these birds are down in south of us. When these birds are soaring around the sky, they're going to be catching those insects flying around in the sky or jumping in the sky out of the way of the tractor. They're going to pop in their mouths and they're going to keep on flying. And so these birds don't even land when they catch and eat their food. They're just going to pop it right in their mouths and keep on soaring around so that they can catch another grasshopper, cricket. And lots of times they will kind of forage on the ground for other animals, beetles, whatever it might be. And these birds aren't really social like you think of with the Harris's hawks. You know, Harris's hawks are a social species. They cooperate together. They'll hunt together. So they're a social species. Now, you can see these birds in large gatherings, flying over those tractors, 8, 10 or so of them. You can see them in large groups, but they're not really cooperating together. They're not really doing much together. It's just that tractor mowing the field makes it easier for them to catch and eat their food. And so they're not really a social species. Further out west, they actually do have like colonies, are a little bit more common out west. But here in the eastern part of their range, they don't really form much colonies. And they're going to be kind of nesting in the deep hardwood forest is where you're going to find them nesting. But not really in colonies like you would see out west. So that's a little bit about the Mississippi kite. Common throughout most of Alabama here in the summertime. In the winter, further south is where they're going to be found. But that's just one type of kite. We've got another type of kite we're going to talk about tomorrow. That's going to be this swallowtail kite, which is a little bit more rare here in Alabama. They're more of a coastal species, so you probably won't see them up in Auburn area very often, but you might. So we're going to talk about them tomorrow, and they're a little bit bigger than the Mississippi Kite. Thanks for tuning in. Keep watching and sharing these videos. War Eagle.